Chapter 8. Fly woke up to another workday. Ted raced his greyhounds 3 times a week. As Fly stretched her slender body, a feeling came over her that this day was going to be special. When she arrived at the track, she took a deep breath. She filled her lungs with the smells in the air. Her ears twitched as she listened to the sounds she was becoming accustomed to. Today, the weather was cool and she felt the bright sunshine on her back. A slipper grabbed her lead and motioned to her to jump out of the truck. He then led her to the track holding area, where she was placed in a slot, just large enough for her to stand and sit. The holding area was in a building that was surrounded by pane glass windows. People were standing outside, looking down at their programs, getting a good look at the dogs for the coming races. The dogs whined and barked as they impatiently waited to be led to the track for their race. Back in the clubhouse, spectators were either sitting in the general viewing area or the preferred section, where waiters and waitresses brought beverages and food. Closed-circuit televisions were set at each of the tables in the preferred section, where people could watch other races held around the country for the day. The preferred section had comfortable seats where one could watch the race. The general section, where the majority of the spectators sat, did not have such amenities. The seats were made of plastic. Some were very old and broken. The atmosphere consisted of stale air that filled everyone's nostrils with the smell of smoke and spilled beer. The floors were sticky from popcorn, gum and soda. There were candy and other wrappers strewn around the area. There were also spent bet receipts all over. What few trash bins the area had were sparsely located and were filled almost to capacity. It was just another busy race day. If a spectator wanted an ice-cold beer, cocktail, or other adult beverage, they made their way to a half-moon bar, where the bartender filled their order. People sitting at the bar on tall stools looked up at television sets, some talking to themselves as they watched the races. The bar was much closer to the wagering booths where the tellers busily punched in the bets. Veteran bettors are individuals who are very serious about the sport of greyhound racing. They spent the minutes before post time staring at the electric tote board, set behind the track outside. The board constantly flickered and blinked as the bets were made. The odds were changing constantly. The odds indicate to a bettor what the payout will be based on their bet. If the odds were 2 to 1, this meant that for every dollar a person bet, the payout would be $2. These betting professionals would head directly to the booths and place their bets at the last minute. They knew exactly what they were doing. Some were dressed very well, and others were dressed as if it would have been a better choice for them to buy a new pair of pants, sweatshirts, or sneakers instead of spending their hard-earned money on gambling on greyhounds every weekend. Outside and out of earshot of all of the clubhouse hustle and bustle, groundskeepers were leveling the racetrack sand. A bearded man, in a dirty baseball cap, was driving a rusty orange tractor around the track, while pulling a pine board pallet. This groomed the sand and made it free of bumps and dig holes made by the greyhounds that raced before. Overhead, an announcer was talking over a loudspeaker about coming events at the track that were held on days the greyhounds were not scheduled to race. The track was surrounded by a chain-link fence that spectators, who ventured outside the clubhouse, gathered behind, waiting for the race to begin. A child was holding a dripping ice cream cone that was making a mess of her outfit. She was standing with her father, more interested in her treat than what was about to happen around her. A slight breeze blew the flags and pendants that decorated the racetrack landscape. Halyards on flag poles made sounds that were like wind chimes as the wind tossed them against the steel poles. If one closed their eyes, they might feel like they were standing on a sunny, ocean dock, or sitting on a park bench by a harbor brimming with sail and other boats. All that would be missing would be the smell of the salty ocean breeze.